whatever you want to talk about.
All right, we're rolling. So before we begin, can you just do me a favor, state your name, how, first and last name, how to spell it, and what your occupation is?
Yes, Brittany Tarwater, Tarwater, first name Brittany. And I am an assistant professor of practice at the University of Tennessee. I'm the advisor for the Volunteer Channel, and I'm a news anchor at WVLT News.
Yeah. So this past weekend, you were at the Alan Jones meet, correct?
Yes.
So I saw you there with your two kids, and I saw you there with the camera. What were you doing there at the meet?
Yeah, so I typically work the morning shift, so working in the evenings is a little bit unusual for me these days, but I was doing some live shots for the TV station for WVLT, and I volunteered to do those because I have spent a lot of time on that pool deck as a former swimmer on the Lady Vols team.
Yeah. And I believe you swam there from, I believe, 2007, 2009.
2005, 2009,
okay,
yes.
my apologies.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago. But you grew up in a very athletic-based household, correct? Where your mom, your sister were a swimmer, your dad was a football player, your brother was a hockey player.
Yeah.
How does it feel like to grow up in a household like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Athletics were always a priority in our house, and it wasn't a priority to be good at them. It was just a priority to be involved in them, primarily for all of the skills and all of the lessons that come with being a part of a team and learning how to be a competitor, and how to be your very best self, even when things are hard. That was a priority for our family. So it was always a rule that you had to be in at least one sport. Didn't matter what it was, didn't matter how many years you'd done it, but it was a rule in our house growing up that you always had to be competing in at least one sport. And if you committed to it, you were going to be the first person at practice, and you were going to be fully committed to all of the competitions that went with it.
Yeah, and obviously swimming very clearly dominated your household.
It did.
From what I can tell, at least.
Yes.
And you grew up in Tampa, Florida, correct?
Yes.
So I know Florida is a very big state, especially for swimming. What was it like to be a swimmer in Florida? Like, what were the expectations for your club team, your school teams, and all that?
That's a good question. It was very common to be a swimmer in Florida. More uncommon to be an ice hockey player like my brother, but
sure.
There were a lot of split weekends in our household where my brother and my dad would go to hockey games, and my mom and my sister and I would all go to swim meets. So it's very, very common. I think we swam outside all year long, so the weather was really conducive to that sport, and our family was very familiar with swimming, so we got involved in swimming in a young age, primarily because of water safety, right? It's hard to escape the water, open water, and the pools in a state like Florida. And it was just something that we were drawn to from a young age. And then my sister and I stuck with it. My mom would continue to swim masters just as exercise. So it was really easy and convenient to be on the pool deck. So we competed all across the state. That wasn't unusual for us to be going to swim meets from Jacksonville all the way down to Fort Lauderdale. Almost every weekend. So it's just a sport that is pretty familiar to a lot of people in that state.
Yeah, and then so you obviously swam for UT from 2005 to 2009 as a sprint freestyler, I believe. What made you come to Tennessee instead of staying closer to home or like going further away?
So I was recruited in 2004. And my sister was a little bit younger than me, but my sister was a very high recruit, top target for all of the top tier programs. So I was not quite as fast as she was, but I was probably over recruited for the hopes that my sister would come to school with us and be somewhat of a package deal because we were so close. So I was recruited, fortunately, by a lot of the top programs, and Georgia had just won national title as a team in that year. So I talked to them quite a bit, and I wanted to stay in the SEC, but my recruiting process was a little bit messy because in 2004, Florida was hit with several hurricanes in the fall. And at that time, that was the early signing season for swimming. So my recruiting trips got messed up. I took one to Richmond early in my in that semester or whenever that was, but early in the fall. I took my first trip to Richmond because the coach there was extraordinary. He was on the rise and he coached in a similar way to what I was used to in my club team. So I was very drawn to this guy named Matt Credich, who was at Richmond. The school wasn't quite what I was looking for as far as the size and just the competitive level, the competition level at that school, but I was really drawn to the coach. So I took my trip to Richmond and unfortunately wasn't going to go there. And then all my other trips to Georgia, to I was going to go out to Cal, and several other schools in the SEC and Michigan. They all got canceled because of the storms that were coming through. And so later in the fall, my mom said, let's get in the car and let's go. And we drove all across the SEC and we visited schools and we went to swim meets and met with coaches and met teams. And we came to Knoxville unannounced. And I called the coach and I said, I'm on your campus. I'd really like to meet with you. And I ended up signing the next day, just sight unseen, essentially. And later on in the spring, that coach announced that he was leaving the program. And Matt Credich from Richmond announced that he would be taking over University of Tennessee's program. So Matt Credich called me and said, if you're not coming to me, I'm coming to you. And the rest is history. And he's been at Tennessee as long as I've been at Tennessee. It's been 20 years.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just want to say thank you for your time.
Yes, I'm sorry if I was long.
That's all good. That's all good.